Welcome back to another edition of Pure Picks, joined here by my man Alex. How are you doing tonight, Alex?
What's up, guys? I'm doing good, James. Doing good.
Awesome, awesome. Really want to just get into a quick breakdown for Jalin Turner versus Bobby Green. This was a fight that is just happened in the last week and a half or so. I believe that Dan Hooker had to pull out due to injury, so they found a late replacement, and it turns out to be Jalin Turner. So he's going to go up against Bobby Green in a three-round fight. This fight will happen at lightweight, surprisingly for Jalin Turner. So I really want to see how he cuts all that weight in about a week and a half, especially after Thanksgiving. But I digress. Alex, I want you to go ahead and start off the breakdown between Jalin Turner versus Bobby Green, and then I'll share my thoughts after.
Yeah. So for this fight here, I'm going to assume two things. Number one is I'm going to assume Turner has a round and a half of cardio. I'm assuming he's going to gas out like the later half of the second round and into the third round if it gets there. And my second assumption is I feel like he's going to come in overweight. I mean, his last fight he missed weight by 2 pounds. He had a much longer training camp, I assume. Like this fight is coming in on short notice. After Thanksgiving, like you said, I feel like this man might miss weight. So I'm gonna assume that. Um, Whether or not, that's sometimes when you miss weight, it can be a bad thing, right? Like it's not always like a positive where like, oh, you have that extra weight to kind of make up for, not cutting it. Sometimes when you show up overweight and, it can mean that, you're lazy or you haven't trained, etc. So, it could be, a detriment, but I'm going to assume that he will miss weight. I don't know by how much, and he has like a round and a half of cardio. So when I think about this fight, right, um, I look back at Bobby Green's fight against Drew Dober. Drew Dober was a fighting out of the southpaw stance, and in that fight, he got knocked out in the second round. I think from a left hook. Now Jalin Turner, he does switch stance, but his primary stance is southpaw, um, same as Drew Dober. And I think looking at Tapology, the last guy that Bobby Green fought, who was kind of like a knockout type of guy, was Drew Dober, and he got knocked out. This fight, even though I think Turner has only one round, 2 rounds of cardio, I think we're gonna see the same thing. I I feel like a knockout is coming. So my pick here is Jalin Turner. I think if this gets into the later rounds, it could get a little greasy. But I just think that Turner he's too dangerous. Like you can't argue. If you watch these two fighters, I don't think you can argue like which fighter is like more dangerous. I think the leg kicks will be there the entire fight. And I don't think Bobby Green's seen someone like Jalin Turner with his length and his skills. And so give me Turner here inside the distance.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with you in terms of your breakdown analysis right there. Just kicking off back to Turner, he has the biggest frame for this division that I've seen so far, right? I haven't seen another guy who's 6'3", has a 77-inch reach, pretty good kickboxing and boxing technique. He likes to fight in range using that reach. I think he's one of the few fighters that uses every inch of his length and reach, right? He really likes to attack at range. Now, he started off as a striker. I do think that he's even improved as a grappler as of late in the last few years. If you go to his Tapology, just his career stats, I think three out of his last four wins are by sub. So this guy has been, kind of club and subbing people, rocking them and then getting them to the ground and then subbing them after, taking them down, subbing them, like he did with Uros Medic, I believe. So, this guy has a lot of well-roundedness to him in his game. I also like that he goes for the finish with his grappling. He's not one of those takedown control type of people. He really just tries to finish the fight, and I think that it's kind of because that what you alluded to with the cardio, right? I think that this guy does have somewhat of a cardio issue, though. He probably only has about, I would say, a round of just where he's the probably the most dangerous lightweight in the division, I think. And then after that round, is it starts to teeter off. So um, that leads me to think that I think inside the distance would be probably the best play to play Jalin Turner, just because I don't know if you can trust him in the later rounds, especially against a guy who, in Bobby Green, he's known to get stronger in later rounds. If you watch Bobby Green's fight against Rafael Fiziev won the first round. He probably won the second one as well. But if you saw then that round three, that was a clear round for Bobby Green there. He beat Rafael Fiziev, who's one of the best strikers in the division. So Turner, especially coming off of back-to-back split losses, he's also never won a decision fight. He's 0-4 in decision fights. So that's something that we need to take a note as well. The split loss to Hooker, he was outdogged in a back and forth stand up war. Split loss to Gamrot, he was doing great in the feet, but he pretty much got grapple fucked on the ground. So those are just some red flags that I do see from Turner. And against a guy like Bobby Green, he's a great boxer, relies on his speed, head movement, quickness, fights with the hands low, right? So that I think that's where it's going to come into part where I think Bobby Green could get caught with his hands down low. Um, he does have a wrestling background as well, Bobby Green, but in the later portion of his career, he has really just relied on that boxing with the hands down. So the play right now, just taking all that into account, is Jalin Turner inside the distance. I do agree with Alex there. I believe right now inside the distance, like plus 140 or something. So that potentially could be a decent play. His money line right now is minus 225. And also to tell the peer pickers the odds, Jalin Turner actually opened up at a minus 190, according to Bet Online right here. And he was instantly bet to a minus 350. And then since yeah, some wild line movement. And since the last few days, he's been bet back to a minus 225 range. So people have been buying in on the Bobby Green odd dog, like dog odds there. But I will still side with Turner, even though short notice could be concerning. I'll go Turner inside the distance, most likely a knockout, maybe even a club and sub. I will advise everybody, peer pickers, before you lock something in with Turner, just maybe look at the weigh-ins first. This guy has been known to miss weight in the past. If he just looks like drained, if he misses weight by like 10 pounds, and then maybe, hey, we need to reevaluate what's going on. I'm hoping that this fight will even happen, right? Because let's say this guy missed weights by a ton, they're not going to put him out there. This fight might even get canceled. So we'll see what happens. I'm a fan of Jalin Turner, and I really want to see him, succeed in the UFC. And hopefully, this is the fight that the UFC has set up for him. But yeah, I need to see the weigh-ins first before I lock it in, if you will. But that about does it for the pick. Alex, do you have any other thoughts about this fight?
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, this fight could be greasy, you know. It's I would yeah, definitely wait until weigh-ins before you pick a side. And just this card overall, it's a tough card, man. Like it's a lot of tough fights, like big favorites that, I can definitely see losing. Um, so yeah, it's a tough one, man. Like I don't know what else there is to say about it. It's a tough one.
I'm glad you're being honest. I mean, I just did the best bets video with Gerard, and we share your same sentiments. So I guess it's good to hear that because we're all on the same wavelength right now. This is going to be
Yeah.
an extremely tough card. If you guys peer pickers, if you're not feeling that confident about some of these plays, please just save your units. There's no need to just start throwing units around just for the sake of throwing units around. The part about successfully betting as a whole is being able to play defense as well as offense, right? So you're not going to be able to grow that stack, grow that bank count unless you have units to play with. Save those units for the next time, maybe for potentially a better card in the future, and then really rock and roll after that. But best of luck to everybody, whoever wants to play this card, having some good picks. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon for the next edition.